Welcome back. So, the big question that I'm sure is in all of your minds is, why does nonverbal communication matter? Why are we talking about it so much? At the end of the day, nonverbal communication is more convincing than the verbal messages. So when you're giving your speeches, it's important to know the messages that your nonverbal behaviors are sending to your audience. So we're going to start and talk about the functions of nonverbal communication. So these are the 6 functions of nonverbal communication, and we're going to talk about most of them in here. A couple of them really fall more into my next screencast, so we'll just go from there. So repeating, this is basically, my example is if I say, please bring me 2 of them while talking to my roommate at the grocery store, and while I'm saying the word 2, I hold up 2 fingers. My nonverbal act of holding up 2 fingers is repeating what I'm saying in my verbal message. So we call this repeating. Accenting is adding to your verbal message by gesturing with your hands or body. So, if you couldn't already guess from my name, I'm very Italian. So Italians are famous for talking with their hands. And that is essentially accenting. It's adding to your verbal message. So whatever you're doing with your hands agrees with what you're saying. So in the bottom right corner, that guy is obviously angry. He's throwing up his hands while he's talking. At the top, Sue Sylvester from Glee, she's very mean. So whatever she's talking about, she's accenting it with her hand gestures as well. Conflicting. This brings us back to the example of me saying, wow, I love this gift, but my face looks like that picture right there. So conflicting basically means that whatever you are verbally saying doesn't agree with what your nonverbal gestures, behaviors are. So and just keep in mind that for all these examples, there's multiple different examples. Conflicting doesn't have to be a facial expression. I could say, wow, I love this gift, and roll my eyes or shake my head. All of those are examples of conflicting messages. Substituting. So same example, someone asks me, how many of something do I want? And I respond with raising 2 fingers to demonstrate the number 2. But different is that I'm not verbally saying anything. So it's basically substituting a verbal message with a nonverbal behavior. So holding up a number of fingers. We wave sometimes to say hello or goodbye when we don't verbally say anything. If you're, driving down the road and somebody cuts you off and you raise a certain finger at them, but you don't say anything, that's another example of substituting. Complimenting. So this basically means your gestures or your facial expression, your nonverbal behaviors agree with what you are saying. So we have Harry Potter saying this is gross, and that's his facial expression. The other lady, she says, wow, I'm so happy, and she looks happy. So when your nonverbal behaviors and your verbal behaviors agree, it really makes your messaging stronger. So that's something to kind of think about when you are giving a speech, especially your persuasive speech, because you really want your audience to agree with you. When your verbal behaviors and your nonverbal behaviors line up, that makes it so much more powerful. That's why a lot of times you'll hear me say in my feedback, like, it didn't really look like you were excited or passionate to give your speech. And that's really important, because if you seem like you don't want to be there, your body motion and your behavior isn't agreeing with what you're saying, because of course you're going to have this well-written speech that shows you're passionate about it, but it's very important that your body language match up to that. All right, so in my next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about nonverbal behaviors as well.